What's up, crew? This is Dr. Matt coming at you with this month's Battle Ready workshop, and we are going to be diving into sleep. And I would say that, just being honest, this is probably one of the areas that I struggle the most with when it comes to getting exactly what I know I need in regards to give my body the best chance to be healthy. And maybe you're the same. And I know that when it comes to sleep, we need to make it a priority, but when we have 1,000 other things going on, sometimes it's just really difficult to make that happen. And just being transparent, that it truly is one of my struggles because I'm just very busy, and my family is very busy, and our schedules are very full. And so very often our schedules run late into the evening. It's hard for me to wind down, and then it's time to go to bed. And then I am a very early riser just because I have to be to get the things done that I know I need to get done. And so it is a challenge. And so oftentimes for me, I'll go to bed sometime between 9 and 10, sometimes 10 and 11, but always my alarm through the week is going off before 4 o'clock. And so, very often I get 4.5 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep, sometimes 6, but it's very rare that I get that. And I know that I need at least 6 to 8. And the truth is, though, I've just had to do my best to figure out how to get the best sleep I can while I am getting sleep. And we're going to talk about that too. But what I really need to figure out is how can I increase that time or add little moments of time throughout the day even to help get me, into that 6 to 8 range, because we really know that that's where we need to be. So let me pull this picture off of here. We're doing it this way this time because last time there was some trouble with seeing the slides, and so I want to make sure you guys can see the slides, but from time to time I'm going to hop back in. So tonight we are going to talk about sleeping well and waking up refreshed, and I would say restful sleep in stress-filled times. And so let's just keep moving here. So as we jump into this, I thought this picture was funny because if you're like me, I know you've heard the saying, sleep like a baby, right? And what's funny, I think, about babies is that they sleep really good during the day. They sleep really good at times, maybe when they shouldn't sleep, but when they don't sleep good is at night. So to me, it was always a little bit laughable using that term, sleep like a baby, because as far as I'm concerned, especially when they're really little, babies don't sleep very good. And so let's try not to sleep like a baby, and let's try to sleep like we're supposed to as we dive into this material tonight. Here's the problem. We are made to sleep. We're the only mammals that willingly give up sleep, right? If you think about it, dogs, they sleep lots of hours per day. Other mammals, they will get out, they will graze, they'll eat, but they have plenty of time for rest. But we, as men and women, we choose to miss out on sleep to whatever we need to do. And that really is a problem underneath it. Now, we have to have schedules, we have to have routines, we have to have plans, but we really do need sleep. And as we jump into this, you hear us talk often about the 4 fundamentals. And the 4 fundamentals are your philosophy, right, which is your mindset and the way you look at your health and the questions that you ask and the lens that you see the world. You also have to have function, which is just making sure the internal systems of your body are working properly. You need to have good fuel, which provides your body with the nutrients that it needs to actually perform the way you want it to. And then the last fundamental is fitness, which we know we need movement. But I would say that one of the next most essential things that we all need to be healthy is our sleep, right? So let's take a look at this. The consequences of poor sleep are large. And what's interesting about these 2 characters, most of you know Heath Ledger, and when he was on the what do you want to call it? Obviously, it was in Batman, but what I was trying to say is when he was on the set, right? He would struggle, and the director would talk about how he struggled so bad with severe insomnia, and which led him to not only over-the-counter medications but prescription medications, and really affected him to where he may only be getting an hour or 2 of sleep a day at best. And through the course of filming a movie and just with life and the stresses that come, it literally led him to this chronic insomnia, which had dangerous side effects because of the choices of drugs he was trying to use just to get to sleep, which ultimately we know led to his death. But a lot of it was just the stress, overwhelm, the lack of sleep, and then everything that mentally led to for him. Michael Jackson, same thing. We know that for decades he struggled with his sleep, and he got to the point where the prescriptions and over-the-counter drugs that he was taking were so ineffective that he actually started using the medication that you would use for anesthesia to put you to sleep, because he was really so struggling with being able to get sleep. And just like Heath Ledger had horrible insomnia and obviously affected his health. And so we want to just make sure that we understand that not sleeping for a day, we can deal with that, but not sleeping for more than that really starts to have a long-term effect, right? So here's the deal: the tangled web of sleep, anxiety, and depression. So anxiety and depression are usually high correlated with insomnia. As insomnia worsens, anxiety and frustration mount, leading to this vicious cycle. Those desperate enough for sleep often over-medicate, which doesn't treat the insomnia at all. Instead, it masks the underlying issues in a narcotic haze that can lead to addiction and even more sleepless nights. It's just this whirlwind or tornado, this perfect storm that starts to happen when we lose sleep, along with, anxiety and depression. It really creates this perfect storm in our bodies, which leads to all kinds of horrible things. The effects of every day that we deal with when it comes to not sleeping well: number one, poor performance; number two, poor mental state; and number three, poorer health. So just worse health overall. According to the National Center on Sleep Disorder Research, vast numbers of Americans, 30 to 40%, report suffering from one or more nights of insomnia during any given year. And I would say there's a lot more than that, just in general, like me, who just really struggle to get the amount of sleep that is required to help your body recover. So 9 signs that you need better sleep. Number one, your blood pressure starts to increase. Number two, you're unable to focus or remember. Number three, you get frequent coughs or colds. Number four, you sleep late on the weekends, your blood sugar is creeping up, you can't shed those extra pounds, you consume caffeine all day, you can't stop hitting snooze, you're irritable or moody, right? So if you feel like you are someone who suffers with these types of things, you're also probably suffering with not getting the amount of sleep that you need. Circadian rhythm, right? So this comes from the Latin word, which means around, right? So throughout the day, around the day, and our body has this rhythm. Our body has this natural rhythm, this body clock that typically follows a 24-hour repetitive rhythm. And when we aren't in our normal sleep cycle, it affects this rhythm. So it says right here, circadian rhythm affects every cell, tissue, organ in your body and how they work. It influences sleep-wake cycles, hormone release, and body temperature. Abnormal circadian rhythms have been linked to insomnia, obesity, depression, diabetes, bipolar disorder, and seasonal affect disorder, all relative to not getting proper sleep, which affects the circadian rhythm. What is REM sleep? So, REM is a time of sleep when your brain and your body are energized, and that's also when dreaming occurs. That's how most people have heard of REM sleep. You heal and function during sleep. Your nervous system heals during REM. You will die if you don't get enough sleep. Literally, if you don't get enough sleep for long enough, you will die from that. Now, what's crazy is that our nervous system needs to get into that REM sleep for it to be able to heal and repair, which also means that you have to be in REM sleep, period, for your nervous system to heal and repair. It says the brain cycles through 5 distinct phases during sleep: stages 1, 2, 3, and 4, and rapid eye movement, which is REM. REM sleep makes up about 25% of your sleep cycle and first occurs about 70 to 90 minutes after you fall asleep. Because your sleep cycle repeats, you enter REM sleep several times during the night. And so it's super important for your body and for healing to enter into this REM sleep, and you have to walk through those phases, and the cycle has to repeat for you to be able to do it as often as you need to throughout any given night when it comes to your sleep. So how much sleep do we need, right? So this is pretty cool. So for you guys that are note takers, I would, either write these down or take a screenshot. But newborns, right, up to 18 hours a day they can sleep. 1 to 12 months, 14 to 18 hours. 1 to 3 years, 12 to 15 hours. 3 to 5, 11 to 13. 5 to 12, 9 to 11 hours. Adolescents, 9 to 10. Adults, including the elderly, 7 to 8 plus hours. And pregnant women, 8 plus. I've seen recent research that says men need a minimum of 6 to 8, women need a minimum of 8 to 10. That's another way to break that down. And so you just have to look at yourself. As I was going through this, I was thinking about our kids just to see if they get enough sleep. Our kids go to bed and get up, fairly early, but I don't know that they're getting, like Griffin, I don't know if he gets 11 to 13 hours. I think our other ones are getting what they need, but it is a thing. And I know for sure that I'm not getting what I need to almost always, which I am working through because it is so important. Our bodies have to be able to recover. I do try to do a better job now where I will come home from lunch. It's just me being open and honest, but I get a certain amount of time for lunch. I try to come home pretty much every day, but I will try to get something and eat it within 30 minutes, and then I will try to lay down for at least 30 minutes, if not 45. I can't really go longer than that because then it like kicks me into like this funk. But anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes usually works pretty good, and I will do my best to sneak that in when I can because it does count. Like it's an cumulative amount of sleep per day. It doesn't just have to be all at one time. And so just remembering that might be helpful for some of you because it is encouraging to me at least to know that if I don't get the full amount at night, I can make up for some of that during the day if the opportunity presents itself. Sleep apnea. This is something that affects a huge percentage of people. Untreated sleep apnea can do this. It can increase the risk of high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke, obesity, and diabetes. It increases the risk or worsen of heart failure, arrhythmias, irregular heartbeats, they're more likely to happen, and increased chance of having work-related driving accidents. Well, that just makes sense, right? Because you're not sleeping well. But this is a disorder in which you have one or more pauses in breathing or shallow breaths while you sleep. Breathing pauses can last from a few seconds to minutes. They may occur 30 times or more an hour. Typically, normal breathing then starts again after that, and then sometimes you will like startle yourself or wake yourself with a choking sound or even a snorting sound. Some of you who sleep or live with people who have sleep apnea, you may experience this. Maybe it scares you. So sleep apnea usually is a chronic ongoing condition that disrupts your sleep. When your breathing pauses or becomes shallow, you'll often move out of deep sleep and into light sleep. So again, it doesn't allow for you to work through your normal sleep cycles, which then prevents you to hit REM. It prevents you from getting the benefits of really, really great sleep. We want to work on that tonight. So this is just showing you some causes of sleep apnea. Now, some people will have physical restrictions back in the back of their throat from a lot of reasons. Most of the time, guys, just being honest, that if it's a physical cause, it's typically because it's obstructive and the airway becomes collapsed. But a lot of times it's more common with people who are overweight, who carry lots of extra weight, in that upper area, through the neck and chest. But when you breathe, any area that squeezes through will make that loud snoring sound, and that's what actually makes the sound. Obstructive sleep apnea. Let me see here. I want to make sure I'm saying this right. Obstructive sleep apnea is more common in people who are overweight. Just said that, but it can also affect anyone. For example, small children who have enlarged tonsils in their throats may have obstructive. Now, the other form is actually a sleep apnea that's neurologic, and this is coming from the glossopharyngeal nerve, and this is a cranial nerve that activates your soft palate, which is a muscle, or part of it's a muscle. And when the nerve supply into that muscle is working properly, the muscle stays toned. But if the nerve supply is affected, that soft palate actually can become a little bit flabby or weak. And when that happens, it starts to obstruct. And so neurologically, because that soft palate, the muscle is not as toned as it should be, it's impacted. And we see this a lot actually with our patients in chiropractic that respond really well, that have sleep apnea that's coming from a neurological source. And sometimes it's never been identified, but the actual cause is a neurologic. And if we can work to get all that nerve impulse firing like it's supposed to, and also with some stretches and some exercises can work to help you get that curve back in your neck, it can have a massive impact on neurological types of sleep apnea. And obviously, as we work people and coach them with nutrition and help them to get to a weight that's more optimal, the obstructive sleep apnea is almost always improved as well. And so just understanding that there are different types of sleep apnea. Some are actually an obstructive physical obstruction, and some are actually neurologic, dealing with the upper cervical neck and also the glossopharyngeal nerve. So that's pretty interesting to make note of. So restless leg syndrome. How many of you out there have dealt with restless leg syndrome or deal with restless leg syndrome, and let's talk about this just a little bit. So people who have RLS describe the unpleasant feelings as creeping, crawling, pulling, itching, tingling, burning, aching, or electric shocks. Sometimes these feelings also occur in the arms. So if any of you have that, you know, like it is a thing, and it's annoying, and it's uncomfortable. And so that also can obviously affect your sleep. Tossing and turning and can't get comfortable, getting up, getting down, going to a recliner, sitting up in bed, laying down in bed. If you're fixing your bed up, if it can do that, you know, some people have those beds that maneuver all around, and you're doing those things to try to get comfortable. All part of restless leg syndrome, but more importantly, relative to this topic, it affects your sleep. And so these are all real things. Some things to help, you know, there's lots of different ways to get magnesium in, but at the end of the day, it is magnesium that we would typically want you to start with. 99% of us on here are deficient in magnesium. It's very good for legs, twitching, cramping, aches, pains, and relaxation. It's also good for headaches. It's also good for bowel motility. But in regards to restless leg and to sleep, it is one of the first recommendations that I make before you take Ambien or any, you know, Tylenol PM, whatever it is. Get some magnesium, get electrolytes, get minerals in your body, and you will be amazed at how fast your body starts to respond. So it relaxes the muscles, it calms down and relaxes the central nervous system, it decreases related spasms, and just helps with overall mineral deficiencies. Like, this is a big deal. We often start with this with kids. We start with this in regards to constipation with adults or children, because we're so deficient and our bodies are just needing in a big way minerals in general, but specifically magnesium. So this should be on your list of things to add in if you struggle with any of this stuff, including just sleep in general. We should look at adding some magnesium in. You know, sleep and weight loss resistance. You know, raise your hand if you'd like to lose 11 pounds in your sleep, right? We all say that we would, but here's the deal. If you're what research call a short sleeper, measured by how long you sleep each night, usually 5.5 to 6 hours or less, you'll have trouble losing weight. That, I fall into that category. You know, I don't know about the rest of you, but I definitely fall into that category of getting that, you know, even less than that 5 to 6 hours or 4.5 to 6 hours. And so we know clinically that creates weight loss resistance. A lot of it's in the form of cortisol and other hormones being impacted, but there is tons of research out there that shows that if you aren't getting into good sleep cycle, good REM sleep, repetitive, it will affect your body's ability to lose weight, and that is a fact. And so if you feel like you're someone that has tried lots of things, who's doing what they're supposed to do, but still just gets these limitations when it comes to losing weight, or you hit these plateaus, it could have everything to do with your sleep, and we need to work on that. What affects great sleep? So number one, so this is Bob, right? So Bob gets home from work late. See if you can relate. Bob gets home from work late after the annual holiday party, where they had some snacks, cheese, crackers, pigs in a blanket, chips, and dip, but he's still hungry. So he gets home, kisses his wife, tucks the kids into bed, and they watch a movie an hour before they go to bed. Bob snacks on some more food, followed immediately by some ice cream. He and his wife climb into bed, spend 15 minutes scanning Facebook, then he tosses and turns, trying several different positions. He gets frustrated around 1 a.m., takes a sleeping pill. The alarm comes all too soon, and he wakes up feeling unrested, makes some coffee to get going. Starts to feel weird around 10, so he has another cup of the coffee, the old mojo, to keep him going throughout the day. Goes to work with his workmates, has some pasta for lunch, crashes around 3 and struggles through the rest of the day, half delirious. This will happen next week after the church party, the following week at his friend's party, and the following week at a family's annual celebration. Sound familiar? I have a feeling Bob isn't alone in the old holiday work grind. And that's just the way we do. So, you know, we go to work. In order to get to work, we have coffee. You know, hear people say all the time that if I don't get my coffee, I can't do anything. Then we fill our bodies with food that just makes us more lethargic. Then we have some more caffeine after that. We have a little more caffeine in the day. Then we eat something for dinner. We get a little bit hungry before bed. Maybe we have a glass of wine, we have a beer, whatever. And then the cycle just continues, and it just affects, you know, how we sleep. And, you know, we're tossing and we're turning, we're flipping and we're flopping. And we just feel like we're laying there not being able to get any sleep. We can't shut our mind off, and then that starts to go into a tailspin because we're thinking about how bad we need to sleep and how soon the alarm's going to go off. And then that's just where we look like in the morning and we need to shift to where this is where we're at, where Bob is jumping and jiving and moving all day long. We don't look like that Bob. We want to look like the Bob that's getting what it needs to do. So here we go. Here's what we need to do to get better sleep. There are several ways and things that we can focus on to get great sleep, and the first one is proper nerve supply. Then we need to make sure we are moving, which is exercise, good food choices, sleep position, bedding, light. Let me get this out of your way for you guys. Room temperature, consistency with bedtime, and eliminate toxicity. So here, this is the plan, right? So all of these things fall into our 4 fundamentals, and including the bringing sleep in. But these are the things that we can do on a regular basis to make sure that we get a good night's rest. And that makes such a difference for everything and for everyone around us. I promise that is true. So here we are, elements of great nerve supply, right? So the way that our body works is your brain sits at the very top of that spinal column that you can see there. And it is sending messages every second of every day to and from your body, right? So they're going down your spinal cord, they go out the nerves to every tissue, organ, cell, and gland. The tissues, the cells, and the organs then give information back to the brain through that same channel, which goes back up the spinal cord to the brain. And then there's this loop that happens all day long in response to the stress, to the decisions, to the things, to the stuff that's going on. And as long as that information can transfer back and forth without interference, our bodies just work the way they're supposed to work. But if they don't, we start to get in trouble. And depending on where that interference shows up, that's where inflammation starts to build. And then from there, all these symptoms can start to happen. And so nerve supply is a great culprit when it comes to not be able to get good sleep if it's compromised, because it affects our body's ability to shut down, to calm down, to reset, to get rid of stress, to control the lungs, to control the heart, to control the hormones. Everything that is connected to sleep is controlled through your nervous system, and that interference shows up because of the stress in our life. What stress? Physical stress. So from repetition, from overuse, from wear and tear, from postural positions, from accidents, from sports, from phones, from computers, you name it. That's where that interference comes from. Physically, chemically, it comes from the foods we eat, the stuff we put on our skin, in our hair, around us, the stuff we use for fragrances, the things that we use on our face for makeup, for bug spray, for sunscreen, from our laundry detergent to our household cleaners. All of those chemicals get in and on and around us and affect us chemically, causing stress. And then lastly is emotional stress, which is of no shortage in the world that we live in, from the debate that you guys watched last week to your spouse, to your kids, to work, to things that you can't control, to losses, to you name it. Those are all emotional stresses that are just compiling that create what's called subluxation, which is interference in your nervous system. And based on our genetics, based on our experience in life and our history, we have more susceptibility for those interferences to show up in different areas. And depending on what areas it shows up, will create the symptoms that you experience. And so such a big deal when it comes to sleep, because if the nervous system is not working properly, if the nervous system has not been cleared out from the stress that you have, it will keep you in that sympathetic dysautonomia, which just means your sympathetic dominance, which is a place where you can't sleep. Because there's 2 main parts of your autonomic nervous system, one which is the sympathetics, one which is the parasympathetics. And when we have stress, when we have irritation, when we have symptoms, our sympathetics are increased, our parasympathetics are decreased, and the parasympathetics is the side of the nervous system which allows us to sleep and to heal and to recover and to digest food and to go to the bathroom. And so if you find yourself a person who is not doing those things very well, it means that you are sympathetic dominant, which means you are not going to be able to get into that parasympathetic system very effectively, and it will cause those other symptoms. And getting your nervous system checked, getting adjusted regularly, is literally the best way to reset and clear that nervous system so that your body will work the way it's supposed to. But specific to sleep, I will tell you, over 18 years of seeing patients, this is the #1 additional unexpected testimony that we hear from all of our patients, is that they sleep so much better when they're getting adjusted regularly. It's just amazing how the body works. You know, this is just giving you a little more detail and just all of the motoneuron pathways that go from the central part of your brain all the way down through your body and how it affects the different layers and the parts of your body that it's affected. But I will just tell you this to simplify. If you are someone who is struggling to get great sleep, who wakes up, even if you do sleep some, still tired, who needs caffeine not only to get up but to stay up, I'm telling you right now, your nervous system is off, and just getting it checked and evaluated and getting adjusted will be your first best step that you can do for yourself and for your kids, and especially long term, it makes such a difference. So I would say for a lot of you, this is a new idea. I would just say that I'm so sorry that it is, and that you've been missing out on just such a simple way to impact your body globally in a positive way, that I would encourage you to investigate this and just let us help you. So, there's lots of ways for you to interact. I wanted to say this too at the beginning. Please comment, ask questions, whatever you need. We will follow this below. We will respond to you and get back to you. But I will say this is your first step if you're really struggling in this area. And some of you aren't, and that's okay. But if you are, you need to get dialed in with your nervous system and just get into a place, no matter where you're at, just get into a place that knows how to check your nervous system properly, neurologically, from a chiropractic standpoint, to make sure you are as efficient as possible and able to balance that sympathetic and parasympathetic part of your nervous system back out. So let's talk about this: sleep and exercise. Getting 150 minutes a week of moderate to vigorous exercise paid off in 65% improvement in quality of sleep. I mean, that's amazing, right? Just getting movement, and not a lot. 150 hours a week, like, what is that? That's not that much. You guys can do that. If you're walking 20 minutes a day, that's 140 minutes a week. So just a little bit more than that. And here's what I would say: if you have children who really struggle with sleep, who really struggle with ADHD, ADD, the best way to help them out is to make sure they stay active, to wear them out. And I know sometimes we are so worn out as parents that it's very difficult to make sure they're active, but man, they are sitting almost always. If they're in kindergarten or older, they're in desks and chairs most of the day. They're already on technology, and we just need to make sure we wear them out. And so there's lots of different ways to do that. If you need more ideas, go back to our last workshop. We talked about this specifically, but I will say that in regards to our kids, this is the best way to make sure they get great sleep, just making sure they are burning energy. They are tired and worn out, and it's really no different for you. Just making sure you get exercise. Movement also replicates some of the benefits of getting adjusted, because we're putting movement to specific areas of your spine, and moving in general is super beneficial. And an increase of 65% in sleep just by working out or walking somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes most days is so worth it. Elements of great sleep as far as food choices go. Eliminate these before bed, and preferably maybe all the time or most of the time. Number 1, refined carbohydrates. Number 2, caffeine. Number 3, sugar. Number 4, alcohol, right? If you're drinking caffeine all day long, that's a problem. If you're drinking caffeine all day long and it's not affecting you, that's a bigger problem, okay? So here's the thing. People ask me all the time, Dr. Matt, is it okay if I have coffee? And here's the answer. Why do you have to have it? If you're just having coffee because in the morning you love to just sit there and you like the aroma and it's peaceful, and you're reading your Bible and you're doing your journal time, or you're listening to music and you just want that for the feeling, then I would say go for it. But if you have to have multiple cups of coffee just to stay awake, this is where this becomes an issue. If you have to have a Red Bull or a Bang or a whatever else is popular right now, Monster, there's an issue there underlying. It's not really the fact that you want an energy drink, it's the fact that you have to have it that's a problem. So we need to help get your body to a place where it can reset on its own without that extra help. And then every now and then, if you want to have, reward yourself with something like that, absolutely go for it. Elements of great sleep. Here we go. Light and dark. Rhythm. Remember the circadian rhythm. You need direct sun exposure during the day to keep it well working, and you need your room to be dark at night. A lot of us will make modifications to our sleeping environment where there's lights, there's TVs, there's things going on that affect our sleep in a great way. And so just reassess, like as you get ready for bed tonight, what else is in my room? Are there lights all over the place? Is the TV on all night for light or sound? All those things do affect your sleep. And I know a lot of times we need those potentially for background noise, but there's other ways to get background noise that I would encourage you to utilize other than a TV, just for a lot of reasons, because whatever's on that TV is getting subconsciously planted into your brain. But in addition to that, it's just the sleep itself will mess with you and not allow you to get into good sleep. Elements of great sleep, your bedding, make your bed. We talk about this a lot. Dr. Becking, if you guys have heard him, he's big on making your bed because it's one of those things. Number one, it's something right out of the gates you can check off in the day that you got done. But it says people who make their bed report 19% better sleep on average, right? Get a firm mattress. Sleep Number bed should be above 50, right? But we always like non-toxic. Tempur-Pedic, memory foam, those aren't bad either. Air them out before you use them. But at the end of the day, you need a good, firm, supportive bed. We've had Tempur-Pedics. We've never had the Sleep Number. We actually now have one from Brooklyn Bedding that's a hybrid that we love. It's got a copper inlay, but it sleeps cooler, and it's all made from non-toxic materials. But at the end of the day, your bedding, making your bed, and we're going to talk about some temperature stuff here in just a second, right? The best positions for sleep. So let's get into this. I think I have a slide here. Yeah. So the best position for sleep is going to be on your back, so be supported on your back. You can put a couple pillows under your knees if you prefer. The side would be the next best option. And then lastly, your belly. And your belly is literally the worst for lots of reasons. It puts lots of strain on your low back. It also puts a ton of strain on your neck and shoulders. Think about it. You're literally going to turn your head to one direction for multiple hours without moving, and it definitely affects your sleep. Now, I may aggravate some people with this one. No pets or kids in the bed. Now, I'm not saying that co-sleeping isn't a thing. I know a lot of my colleagues even have a different opinion on this, but I will say if we're talking specifically about getting good sleep, no pets or kids in the bed will be really good for that. It says kids and dogs are the biggest bed hogs and some of the worst sleepers. Both deserve their own sleeping space, and you deserve yours. Make your kids and dogs sleep in their own bed. Your cancer rate goes up due to these two things. Watch this. You don't get sleep, and you're making that decision. Your kids will be better off if you get sleep. Think about that. But cancer rates do go up for people who don't get enough sleep. One of my mentors who actually ended up getting cancer, he said that. He's like, as much as I took care of myself physically, as far as how I ate, even got adjusted, he said the biggest neglect to my body was the fact that I did not get good sleep regularly, because he was one of those guys that would burn the candle on both ends, go 100 miles an hour, own and ran multiple offices, and probably averaged somewhere 4 to 6 hours of sleep a night, which is just not enough. And so I would say, please take this into consideration. And really, your kids deserve good sleep. They deserve to have their own space. But if your kids are like my kids, they do not stay in one place. I mean, they're kicking you in the head. They're putting their arms over your nose. They're kicking you in your side and your butt and your back all night long. And even though they may feel like they got great sleep, you did not. And that's just the truth. And so we need to make sure that we're looking at this. It says 53% of pet owners who sleep with pets experience nightly sleep disruption. 80% of adults who sleep with a kid in bed have trouble with sleep. This is a big deal. That's from the Mayo Clinic. This isn't from Dr. Matt. This is from the Mayo Clinic, right? So again, please consider this. One of the things that we did when we struggled with this was we actually would put a pallet next to our bed. And so, because our boys in general, Madison, she was always so good about just sleeping on her own, but with our boys, neither one wanted to stay in their room or their bed. And so we literally made a pallet on the floor next to our bed and just let them know, listen, you are welcome to sleep in here, but you are going to be on this pallet because we need to be able to have our space and get some good sleep, and you deserve that too. And and I'm sorry again if I'm not agreeing with the way you like this or the way you're doing it. I'm okay with that, and you can still continue to do it. I just want you to know that you are compromising your sleep and your health because of it, and it's super important to be aware of that. Elements of great sleep as far as temperature goes. Temperature of the room for great sleep should be between 68 and 72 degrees. Dude, I love this because I can't sleep when it's hot, and I don't like to sleep when it's hot. And I always feel like if it's a little bit cooler, you can always add another cover, but it's super hard to get comfortable if it's hot. And so please assess the temperature of the room because it does make a difference. And so, we're getting to that time of year where things start to cool off, but give yourself a chance and help yourself out when it comes to sleep by decreasing the temperature of the room. If it's too high, it may not be, but if it is, that is a factor. Consistent timing. Do you get the Monday blues? By keeping a late schedule on the weekend, weekend nights, the internal clock becomes 2 or more hours behind the usual weekday. And so then it affects us as we get back into our normal rhythm. It says, by staying up and sleeping in an hour more than usual on the weekends, we provide a biological clock difference that pushes us later into the night. By keeping a late schedule, it affects us. So we need to have a regimen. So even, it can be off just a little bit, but you need to try to be as consistent as you can be. And especially, I would say, as a caveat, especially during the week, try to establish a rhythm during the week where you're shooting to go to bed within this 10 to 30 minutes and you wake up consistently. It's so weird, because of the fact I wake up so early, but it's so rhythmic that even on the weekends I still wake up super early. And even during the week, most days I wake up before my alarm goes off because my body is just in that rhythm and it's very consistent. So even though I don't get maybe as much total time as I should, my patterns are very, very consistent. And so that is helpful and is in my favor. I just need to work at trying to somehow extend those times. And I would say this too, as I've gotten more kids, my amount of sleep has gotten less, really. And so I feel like for every kiddo that we have had, I've had to wake up 30 minutes to an hour earlier to just get the things done that I need to do. Because, as much as I know sleep is important, I also know my morning routine is important. And so getting up and working out, getting up and being in the Bible, for me, may not be your thing, but for me, getting in the Bible and reading the Bible, having time to pray, and then start to get ready. I need that time. And so that's why I get up so early. It's not because I love it, I actually don't, but I know that if I don't do those things, it's also affecting my health and my productivity as a dad, as a doctor, as a person. And I just know how important it is for me because I know myself and I know my mind, and I have to have ways to get rid of yesterday and get ready for today and just help myself to prepare for who I want to be and the direction I want to go. And a lot of that for me happens early in the morning. And so it's super important. Having those rhythms are very important. And that's what we're seeing here with having consistent timing when it comes to sleep. Eliminate toxicity. So chronic exposure to low levels of toxicity slowly increase overall body burden and cause hormone dysfunctions affecting weight, sleep, and metabolic process. We are exposed to literally tens of thousands of chemicals every single day. And if we can smell it, we might as well eat it. If it's on our skin, it gets in our bloodstream. We are exposed to it, and they are neurotoxic. They are endocrine disruptors. They mimic estrogen. They cause all kinds of problems in our body. And so just being aware of the toxicity around us and things that we can do to improve our situation, that's what we really need to work towards. I would say as you are looking at buying your deodorant and your shampoo and your soap and your detergents of any kind, your household cleaners, being aware of trying to find products that have those eliminated. There's tons out there. We get most of our stuff still from a company called Vitacost. So instead of vitamin, it's called Vitacost. It's a website. They carry all kinds of things that are way healthier when it comes to anything you can think of related to chemical toxicity. And so I would encourage you just to take the time to figure those things out and maybe slowly start to transition one thing at a time. Another thing that a lot of us have in our homes that are super toxic are air fresheners and candles. They're one of the #1 toxins in our home, especially candles which have lead, so be careful. If you're going to do them, get them organic, get them with essential oils. There's other ways to get good fragrances in your workspace or in your home. I understand. I like that too. I like things to smell good. And even with your colognes and your perfumes, please be aware. The cologne that I use is an essential oil based cologne, and it's not as overwhelming. It doesn't affect me as much. I'm pretty sensitive, so if you're like me, you're one of those people that if you even go into Bath and Body Works, you usually get a headache. But that's me. Nothing against you if you wear this, but like super florally perfumes and such really affect me. And so I'm just super sensitive. And so, a lot of car air fresheners, if there's too much of them, they're just neurotoxic. They truly are. And so just being aware that there's healthier and safe ways to, improve the environment that we're in, and utilize, the amazing, cleaning supplies and things that are out there, but just in a healthier way. And so just think about that as you're just buying things moving forward, because it's all part of this picture. It's not just one, it's a cumulative effect of all these things in general. Where are we at? There we go. So retox prevention and toxicity elimination. So what happens to the clear toxins, right? So you get rid of them by pulling them out of your system. The toxins get into your bile and retoxifies your body. So no detox product is completely effective, but it helps to remove these toxins and binds them and gets them out of your body so they're not reabsorbed. That is also key. So the first key is just don't get exposed to more of them as you move forward. The second part of it is making sure that you help your body get rid of them so it doesn't get reabsorbed in the gut through like this regenerative reabsorbed process when it comes to toxicity. So here's the thing. The main way that people attack sleep deprivation or sleep issues is not with what we just talked about. It's with taking some type of sleeping pill, whether it's over the counter or prescription. And here's the deal. These things are loaded with side effects, right? So here's the first 25, and then here's another 25. These are all side effects, which again transfer over to a lot of the other symptoms that you guys are having, and we're just trying to avoid that. Here's another 50, right? I know you can't hardly read that, but you get the point. And then here's another 50, and then there's 50 more. So these are all side effects of sleeping pills. There's no error on the slide. We are aware of it. It looks goofy, but this is the truth. And then when you stack them all together, and what's crazy is most of these, the side effect, I have these a little bit bigger. Check these out. So the last two, suicide attempts and insomnia itself. So one of the things that you're trying to get rid of, the main thing you're trying to get rid of in regards to this workshop would be insomnia. And the side effect of those pills actually long-term is insomnia, which is crazy, right? So here's the thing. Taking the pills for insomnia can result in insomnia. Even more troubling is that the depression that can actually lead to suicide. None of these effects are trivial, but these are incredibly dangerous, right? And so what we need to know is that if you're in a situation where you're just in this health crisis and you have to have some type of intervention to manage it right now in this moment to get you through, then go for it. But the truth is that we have to get past that. We have to find a way to ask a better question, which is, why am I not actually able to sleep? What is going on in my brain? What is going on in my environment? What is going on inside my body that's not allowing me to get the sleep that I should get and I need to be healthy? Because we have to be able to figure that out. Remember where it starts. Number one, great sleep starts with nerve function. Your nervous system controls everything. I cannot say this enough. I know that this idea of chiropractic is just different for people. People think about chiropractic when they hurt. I wish that people would have never thought about chiropractic when they got hurt and that they just thought about chiropractic when they needed to be healthy, right? Just like a dentist, right? We all go to get our teeth checked because we have teeth. We don't go to get our teeth checked because we have bad teeth. We go because we have teeth, and we go because we don't want bad teeth. And when we talk about chiropractic, what I would say is that you should go to the chiropractor and get checked because you have a spine, not because you have a bad spine. And when you do that, the reality is it's not even about the spine, it's about your nervous system, but you will be in a place where you can make sure that your nervous system is working at its optimal level, that the stress has been removed, that your sympathetics and your parasympathetics are balanced, and that the tissues, organs, glands, cells, muscles in your body are getting the information that it needs to from the brain and able to get that information back so that the proper nerve function is able to help your body adapt, heal, recover, be efficient, and get you through your day. But most importantly for this, get you great sleep. And so if you are a person that has never had your nervous system checked or have never been adjusted or have these symptoms that we're talking about, one of the first things you need to do is just get scheduled to see where and if you have nervous system interference, which I'm sure you do, and then what can be done to help get that stress off of there so that your body will start to work better. And most importantly, if you're not sleeping, it will help you sleep. That is what we're talking about. I just know, like, man, from having kiddos, like, you can go a couple of days without sleep, but when it starts to go more than that, it is absolutely miserable. And it affects you, and it affects everyone around you. It affects your productivity. It affects your focus. And, you know, I know some of you that are dealing with kids are dealing with this, and people that don't have kids, you're still dealing with this for another reason, and we have to do our best to help you get to the bottom of it. And most people, the bottom of it starts with this nervous system. So get it checked out. Great sleep starts with function. Proper sleep happens when your body's functioning right. If you want to get your body working right as far as neurologically, you need to figure out where the problem is. And so we have to figure out where the dysfunction is. Where are you subluxated? Where is your nervous system messed up? And then from there, we can start to build out. how to build your body back and get stronger.